Hey yo guys, time for a DVD review. Today we're going to be reviewing the history of TNA Year 1. This is the recent edition released from TNA, and I just thought it was a decent DVD enough to review. It's a good documentary, not going to lie, for those of you who are interested in learning more about the first year. Now I'm going to give you a rundown of the DVD by each chapter, and yeah, so let's get into it. By the way, they do give you something interesting on the start with the fact that, you hear Mike today and Don was talking to the truck just minutes before the show and talking about how they're going to change things up. The DVD started in the first chapter with the Summer of No Worries, where Jeff Jarrett talked about WCW and the fact that they had no worries because Jeff Jarrett was just going to go home and get checks from Turner after the company closed, and he was working a few shows because he really couldn't. He worked some stuff in Australia and in Las Vegas. And then Bob Ryder talked about how he, Jeff, and Jerry were on a fishing trip in the Gulf of Mexico, and they really never explain who Jerry is, and you just have to know who Jerry Jarrett is as Jeff's father, and how they were going to start up a wrestling company. And Ryder talked about how no TV company wanted to have wrestling on it, so they were going to have to go with the genius idea of putting TNA on pay-per-view for a week with the reasonable price of $9.95, which is complete BS on the part of Bob Ryder because it's a terrible idea. And then they talk about the next chapter, and it's the TNA, where Jarrett talked about selling the idea of weekly pay-per-views for $9.95 and how hard that was. And then you get to see original photos of Scott Hall, Brian Lee, Low Key, Jerry Lynn. I like when Jeff Jarrett was said that he was proud they even got it off the ground, and you get to see how great of a persuasive talker Jeff Jarrett is, and how the fact that they simply got it off the ground. And he earned my respect with his persuasive talkerness. With his persuasive talk, you can tell how he was championed for so long by persuading people that it was the right thing to do. And then Bob Ryder talked about how they ran an indie show and explained they got some of their talent that still works there today, like Chris Harris, James Storm, and Abyss. And then Don West came across as a nice, soft-spoken man and admits he had no clue what he was doing on there. So give Don West props because he admits he really was a newbie to wrestling and had no clue what he was doing. So, that's very nice and decent chapter, one of the better chapters on this DVD. Then, June 19th, 2002 is the next chapter where they talk about the first show. Jarrett talks about the downfalls leading up to the first show with lighting issues, because apparently there's a big difference in lighting a wrestling show and a rock show. Don West explained how he had a full-blown panic attack leading up to the show, and how Cheeks broke the ring, which was a big guy, like if Rikishi ate Rhino, that's what Cheeks is. You can see some footage of that, which is cool. And Jeff talked about how the Harris brothers had to fix the ring, like up to the minutes just before they got on the show. The next chapter was Will TNA Last, and it started off with Bob Ryder saying we had an idea that most people thought wouldn't work, and buddy, Bob Ryder, it still did not work. It cost you financially. Jarrett said that everybody except his wife didn't believe it would work, but then again, he went by the motto, there's no great reward without great risk. Tenay said that he saw a chance of TNA working because of the in-ring talent. Borash thought there was no chance of it working, but he still stuck around. Styles came across really strong by saying he didn't think it would work, but he believed Jeff Jarrett, and after the debacle, which is the Jay Hossman incident, and Jay Hossman was a person who worked for TNA and said they were getting outrageous pay-per-view ratings and buys and it was not true. They were not well, and AJ came across really strong there. Then the next section's the Carter family, and first of all, who knew Dixie Carter's real last name was Jarrett? So that's a bit of an interesting coincidence. I mean, it's karma, I guess. Dixie said she used to live near Jeff Jarrett in a little hotel in Las Colinas, Texas. And apparently Jeff told her back in the day that he was a wrestler, and she didn't believe him until apparently David Letterman said that he was on the show or something. I don't see that happening. Jeff talked about going to Dixie's publicity company while looking for financing. Dixie brought up the idea to her father, Bob Carter, and he was the head of Pan Energy, and then they started to finance the show. And you gain a lot of respect for Dixie because, it explains how she went to, Home Depot and Target and bought all the supplies to turn their set over from a fourth-rate set to a second-rate set. So, give her props for getting her. She wanted to get her hands dirty for the company to succeed. Next chapter is the rise of the X Division, where Elix Skipper talked about how excited he was to work for a company that pushed the younger, smaller guys, and he wanted to, and the fans wanted to see it since WCW's Cruiserweight division dies. Don West talked about the first X Division title match with Lynn, Psychosis, Styles, and Low Key, and by the way, that is just a phenomenal match, and it's on this DVD. So, you know, I get to see that. Andrew Thomas then gave his thoughts about the X Division, and it was like when the WWE puts the Brooklyn Brawler in there, so no one really cared. Styles said how it was much of an honor it was for him to be the first X Division champion, as he says in a lot of stuff, but, you know, he really is truly genuine about that, so you can tell that just how he comes across. But at the end of the chapter, you realize that TNA has not done anything with their X Division. They talk big game about it, but it's always really been mid-card to the opener match, and I mean, they've only put it in main event one time, and it turned out to be the best match. So maybe TNA should think about doing that again. They talk about the next chapter is the tag teams, and it's really just about AMW. So you know, if you like AMW, it's great for you. The next chapter was in Asylum, where everyone talked about the positives from going to that big arena in Alabama to the Asylum, which is the Tennessee State Fairground. Dixie said how hard it was to fill seats, and talked about a fan who, you know, would pay money every week and come to the shows, and got so mad when Don Harris turned heel that he wanted to jump the guardrail. Dixie said we just needed 4 million fans like him. And it was nice to see that TNA found an alternative to the Asylum with the Impact Zone, so that's nice. And it's, yeah. Anyways, the next chapter was Raven versus Jarrett, and people may not how important it was when Raven came over. It was the first big acquisition from WWE to TNA, so that was great. And Raven was in shape and could cut great promos, not this big blob as we see on TV today. And, you know, it was a great feud. I mean, I love how TNA built it. It's one of the best things they've done when they did that feud, how they built it. And Raven described how the feud worked, so he still has this great mind of wrestling. And the DVD concludes with looking Year 1, where everyone reminisced how special it was. Saw said it set the tone for future years. How it set the tone for future years. Chris Harris said it was his first real start in the business, because he was in WCW for like a minute. He was one of the Stings in that Halloween Havoc 2000 match. Ryder said it proved we knew what we were doing, which is a very delusional statement, Bob. I mean, you really still don't know what you're doing. And West said that they should feel lucky that they survived the first year and were lucky to even get a second year. So, you know, Don West comes along across great there. And Daniels with his cliche, we gave it 110%. So, yeah. But overall, this DVD is a tale of two stories. I mean, let's go with the negatives here. It tries to be a real documentary, but then again, you know, it's just very one-sided, and it makes you seem like everything TNA did was genius and they were very successful. And they don't talk about the flaws. They don't talk about how bad the rating for the weekly pay-per-views or the concept of weekly pay-per-views. Their bizarre booking, and they tiptoe around the Jay Hossman situation. I mean, they could have openly said it. It wouldn't have been a big deal. The positives are Dixie Carter, Don West, and Jeff Jarrett. They come across as human beings, and you want to hear more from them. And, you know, great production values with photos and a great, never-before-seen video. So overall, and like as I just said, and I would recommend getting this DVD if you want these great matches from the first year. And, you know, I mean, I wish TNA would have, I would like to see a year 2 DVD from TNA, and hopefully they're more honest and admit their flaws and, you know, can laugh at themselves, because everyone likes to laugh at themselves. But anyway, guys, I'm out. I will try and hit you with another DVD review on any DVD soon, so anyways, peace.